Welcome to our Vitality Chat. And we're really excited again to have a very special practitioner with us. Heidi is here and she's going to share with us some of her kind of journey through chiropractic care and where she is now. And we just really appreciate her taking the time to doing this. And we love having people who have kind of different aspects of chiropractic and have gone through the ups and downs of different practice changes and have come out on the other side. So with that said, Heidi, we'd love to introduce you and introduce yourself and tell us a little about you and how you got into chiropractic and where you are now.
Great. Well, thank you for asking me to do this. Anything to promote the profession and help to just band together and share how you can diversify and do different ways of chiropractic. So I have been a chiropractor for 25, almost 26 years now. Love it. And started going to a chiropractor when I was about 12, but I actually went with my mom when I was a very small child, and I wasn't adjusted, but I would just watch her get adjusted. So it's been an influence in my life for years. And I have scoliosis, and so that's what started bringing me around age 12. Is I had a lot of back discomfort, and my parents were pretty holistic, and so they sought out chiropractic care, and it made an impact in how I felt and influenced the trajectory of my post graduate education. I always thought I was going to be a pediatrician. Even from when I was a child, I was always pretending to be a doctor. I was a doctor for my baby dolls. And that really changed all of my senior year of high school when my chiropractor, who had been my chiropractor for years, I had several chiropractors over the years, but that particular individual sort of planted the idea and said, why don't you just consider being a chiropractor? I think you make a great one. You come from a holistic family. That lifestyle of helping people get and stay healthy really could resonate well with you, and planted that seed in my mind. I hadn't even considered it before that. So off I went.
Yeah. It's great when someone catches you at that right moment in time when they could just plant that little seed and all of a sudden things click and things change. I know that happened for me as well. And I think that's, kind of amazing. It kind of becomes like a magical mystery journey. All of a sudden you just make that switch and then you just take off.
I know I started chiropractic under care about the same time you did as a preteen teenager. And I remember I didn't have the words to explain what I felt, but I know I felt different every time I got adjusted. And, I was always saying, can't I go more often? Because it was just something about connecting the body and the mind and how it helped me think. And, I didn't have the words, and I really appreciated you. You were very fortunate that the chiropractor planted that seed. Yeah. So to say, this is a profession, because oftentimes we miss that, we just to think that, and you're not exposed to even thinking about chiropractic as a profession when you're a teenager. It's not really a common thing. And so I think you're really fortunate. So you decided to go to chiropractic school, and what was that journey like for you?
So first I had to go to undergrad and finished up that, and then chose to go to Northwestern College of Chiropractic in Minnesota. Okay. The chiropractor I was seeing went to national, so he was a little bit upset at me for not going to national, which I thought was very funny and would tease me for a couple of years about that. Mm-hmm. But I settled on Northwestern because when we went to go look at the school, I walked in the front door, and when I tell you there was an emotion that just flooded my body, and I said, this is it. Right when I walked in the door, I said, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Awesome. And where I'm supposed to be, and just didn't look back. So loved my education there. I felt like really well-rounded. It probably was not as straight chiropractic friendly, but I didn't know at the time. Whatever. I was happy with education. I loved it.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've taught in that school many times over the years. I feel that same way about that school. I feel that same way about the location of that school and the people that are in that school. I always feel like I go home when I go there. I mean, it's a great program.
It's like wholesome. Yeah.
It is. And it's great people that live there. Yes.
And the philosophical constructs may not be as narrow, but they're also broad enough to embrace it. That's what we always notice. We can travel down that lane of, subluxation based allelogenic model. And they ride with it. They don't buck it, even though they have other options. Yeah, And I think that's really important,
Right.
especially when you get out in the real world too, is to be able to keep your mind open and to understand, to stay in your lane, but also be available to like open up your vision a little bit and let other people come in and speak to you around, where you're going and how you're doing it. And I just think that's really important. And Northwestern, I think, embraces
Yeah, it
that.
does. It's a
National, I think you would have been a little shaky over there.
bit, like maybe.
I
So
wasn't meant to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
Western was where, yeah.
So as a child, you wanted to be a pediatrician. How did you
Always,
transition
yeah.
to pediatric chiropractic? How was that journey? Because
So,
I know that's what you focus on now. So
yes, I only take under age 12 as new patients and have for years. So I get to do exactly what I want. Obviously, those children will get older, but it is just such a meaningful experience. In fact, I just saw a girl that I saw her when she was 6 months old, and she's now a senior in college. And I've been seeing her, and her mom and her sister and her brother. I do not work on men. I have not for over 20 years. So I'm blessed to be in a practice with 3 other chiropractors, all who are men. So if a man or a father wants to be seen, then I just say, it's not going to be by me. It's going to be, with these guys. So it's very easy to say no.
I would love for you to speak to that because you are very fortunate that you can do that. And,
yes.
and how do you set those systems up, and how did you come to this? Like, how did you come to like, this is what I'm going to do and this is all that I'm going to do, but yet have the systems where you're still not, rejecting people. So how was that journey for you, Dr. Heidi?
I just realized what I like, what type of like clientele basically I enjoy working with. And it was not men. So it was very easy for me to just say, I'm going to drill down into more women and children and have that be my focus. And that's all I said. So I have always worked in an office. I worked previously as an associate for 7 years and then joined the office that I'm at now, which happens to be with my husband and 2 other male chiropractors. So 4 of us total. And I've always been blessed to be able to say, my focus is only women and children, or now it's just children, and don't even take women as new patients, and haven't again for years. So that's how I was fortunate to be able to do that. If I was a single practitioner, I might have had to concede and do things in a different way. But this is the avenue that I have made for myself.
So I just have a question about that. So you work with 3 other men. So when you have a mom who brings their baby in, right, and then she wants to get under care, is that an easy transition to say, well, you're not see my husband or so and so, like I don't treat women? Because at this point, that's very different. A lot of people will treat babies and moms and not treat that. So it's very, very. I don't know anybody, like I know a lot of people who do that, moms and babies. So how does that transition work? If someone comes in and
it's actually been really interesting because when they come in, they almost always join care. How could you not?
Right.
But I will say to them, they'll say, oh, can I see you? And I'll say, oh, I really wish, but my focus is on babies. There's so many babies to work with and not enough of us that have that as a desire or a skill set. And so, my colleagues would love to take care of you. And here's what we're going to do. When you come in, we're going to make an appointment back to back. So your appointment's going to be for the baby with me. And then we're going to just wheel you right down the hallway and we'll get you on the same day. You don't even have to bother coming back. If you need to change a diaper, there's a diaper changing table. We set them up for success when they come in the office.
That's awesome.
And it's not like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can, and I wish I could. It's just what it is.
So you're not uncomfortable. And I know you have some additional training, like as a lactation consultant. How did that come about, and how did you add that?
How do you use that? Yeah, how do you use that in your practice?
Well, you ask as the years go by, realize, oh my gosh, I really love helping mothers that are struggling to feed their babies. I loved being able to just work on the babies, on their jaw, on the cranial work, and on their body, especially while they were feeding. And I wanted to know more about lactation. And years ago, a lactation consultant came in with her client, who was my patient.
Right.
And it was just, super cool to meet them and chat with them. And I thought, oh yeah, I really need to know more about this. So I thought out becoming a lactation consultant to understand from what I was doing, but from that lens, and ended up loving it. And so now, over the last 4 years, I have focused my practice exclusively on accepting new patients that are struggling to feed with breast or bottle. And I love it. So I finally get to do
So,
exactly
so you
what I
work with the
want.
baby, you'll help support the mom and talk about, different like, and then if the mom needs chiropractic care, you'll just put her right into that. That's great. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's kind of,
Yes,
Yep. We
it's
just
really
tell them
really
this is the way it is. There isn't any like question for how does this happen. I just
right.
this is
Well,
how
Well, what I think is amazing that you've been in practice or a chiropractor for 26 years and you figured this out through time, keeping yourself
not
interested.
right away. Not right
Yeah,
away.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. It does take time. And is there a particular technique or anything like that you'd like to share and how you take care of your pediatric, like how it works? Because you're obviously taking care of newborns and early,
Yes.
and so what is some of your go-to technique?
So obviously I'm not going to do my diversified chiropractic care that I learned about at Northwestern.
Yeah.
I
Thank
was
goodness.
also right. I was also blessed to have a great cranial sacral instructor, Dr. Carol Phillips, who was
Oh,
from
awesome.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so I started doing cranial work and went through Upledger,
Mhm.
5 years ago, which I found I couldn't do on adults because they sucked the soul out of me. So I said,
Mhm.
okay, I can't do this. I don't know how to shut off my energy. But the
Right.
babies didn't. All I felt like was I could just pour my love into them. So I do a lot of that sort of modified cranial work,
Sure.
as well as just a lot of non-force, lots of palate work in the mouth. Fortunately, we can do that in Massachusetts.
Right.
And, those are sort of my go-tos.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, for young practitioners, maybe who've been in practice 5 years or around that time, is there any advice you would give to them on their journey as to how you stay involved in chiropractic and maybe some advice that you might give them to find their journey the way you have found your journey?
Yeah, I think really recognize who do you enjoy seeing their name in your schedule and who do you go, oh my God, they're really good." Like what's the common thread when you see that?
I haven't looked at my schedule in 20 years when I go, I do not look at my schedule, but yeah,
I no longer go, oh my God, I can't believe they're coming. I don't say that anymore. I just feel, oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have to figure out who do you enjoy working with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Well, there's one other thing, and your setting's a little different. I mean, I know you have worked in the hospital setting. I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure.
Yeah, because that's also very different.
Yes, it is very different. We are on staff at a local hospital, Winchester Hospital, which just means that we have staff privileges.
Right.
So we don't actually work in the hospital building. We have an offsite clinic.
Right.
And how that started was my husband, who's also a chiropractor, Winchester Hospital in 1998 was seeking to create a sort of a wellness center, so to speak, and they wanted to call it Community Health Institute, where they offered chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, hypnotherapy, breastfeeding counseling, and smoking cessation under one roof.
I actually remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of a unique environment. Here's my cat thinking he can join the fun. So they were seeking out a chiropractor, and my husband knew and had worked with a lot of the orthopedists. And so they asked him if he would sort of join this pilot program. And he was in private practice. He owned his own private practice at the time. And within 2 months had to shut down his private practice because it was so flourishing so much.
Wow.
That he was splitting his time. Then he had to hire an additional chiropractor who he picked somebody locally.
Right.
And those two guys ran that for a few years. And then I came on 7 years into the practice. So it's we are the chiropractic department at Winchester Hospital, but we're not in the hospital itself.
Right.
So.
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
that's why I so enjoy listening to your story, Dr. Heidi, because of all the things that make you different. And,
Yeah.
you know what
Yes.
I mean? So yeah, it's and let to really get the message. There's just no one way to do it.
What I think is
yeah.
also important, and you can see it as you've made your transitions, it's those points where you have to take that leap of faith, where you have to like, this is what I want, and I'm going to jump off the edge a little bit here because I'm assuming, and knowing you that as much as I know you, is that each one of your steps you were successful in, but you had to make changes, which means to let go of that success to move forward into something that fulfilled you even more. And I think that's something that a lot of people, not just chiropractors, just professionals, are afraid to do. You're afraid to let go of what you have. You just mentioned your husband just did the same exact thing, in 98. So I think that's an important concept that people have to understand is once you're clear on where your journey is and what take the leap, because you'll end up in a much better place.
Yes.
Yeah. And you may only do that journey for a little bit and then it's time to pivot again. So I dipped my toe and tried different things. And
Yes,
I
awesome.
loved pediatrics and I wanted to get
Right.
a diplomat degree. So I did that through the ICPA 16
Good.
years ago. And I loved that education and
Good.
that training. And that opened my eyes to different ways of doing things and also what I didn't want to do. And so that's sort of one
That's
piece of
big.
advice I have for the younger generation of chiropractors is go and look at other people's offices or chat with them or, offer to take them out for a coffee or just swing by the office. We obviously call them first. And just, I really learned what I didn't want to do. I
Yeah.
followed a lot of chiropractors around and I learned a lot about how I did not want to practice, more
Yeah.
so than how I did.
I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I think that's really important.
That's really, really, really great advice. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I mean, you've shared so much with us today, and it's such valuable. Your journey is so valuable. Is there any one other little tidbit that you'd like to share? Some memorable experience that kind of shifted you along your way? I mean, so many people talk about maybe a miracle case in their office or a miracle case in their own body. Is there something like that? Some memorable experience that really you pull back onto and you think about? Chiropractic.
When you have one of those days
Yeah.
where they look at your book and you went, oh no.
Go away. I think
Husband decides you only want to see children too, and then you're really in trouble.
It's funny because I think about, and I've kept all the cards that I've received over the years from
Yeah.
parents
Nice.
or they thank me with tears streaming down their face. Thank you for helping my child for whatever it was that they brought them in for. And that is my fuel.
Sure.
My fire is always helping babies and always has been. It's just that this is the avenue that I do it in. And you can't help but continue to be motivated and want to dip your toe in the next, into the next pool.
Right. Well, we appreciate you dipping
Yeah,
your
we
toe,
do.
and we appreciate you being in Massachusetts because we love the pediatric chiropractors we have in Massachusetts. We feel like the children of this state are being served well. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for continuing to do it well. And thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for your time today. It was great. I love listening to your story, and I
Absolutely.
think it's inspiring. I really do. I think
It
it's inspiring to be able to create what you want.
Yeah.
And not doing it in a selfish way too. It's not like, it's just you were able to create what you want and also made space for people who needed your service or needed your advice, a place to go,
Right.
which I think is really important.
And I think I have fellow female chiropractors and male, but fellow female chiropractors who I know that they don't do what I do. So we've also field our patients to them and say, hey, you need Webster technique. I no longer take patients for that. So can you go see this woman over here? And that is so beautiful to create that community. If you don't reach out to other chiropractors, they don't know what you offer. And so another way to continue your community and your experiences, actually chat with the other chiropractors in your area.
That's great.
Get more, fuel in your fire for the profession, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to diversify a little bit.
And you change the attitude. It's not competition anymore. It's support. Chiropractors always get worried about that. Are there not enough patients? Well, I don't know. There's 100,000 chiropractors, maybe in the entire world, and 7 billion people. I think we're okay. I think the demographic is in our favor. Making it a cooperative effort as opposed to a competitive effort is a really big thing, really big difference.
We're always very grateful for the people that do what we don't want to do. Like, we can't take it.
Absolutely.
We can't take acute care, but I can empathize with anyone who's in acute pain. I'm not going to be like, oh, so sorry, we don't take you. I'm going to find someone who is going to take you.
Right. I'm not the right person for you. I say that all the time. I'm not your girl. Yeah. But I know somebody who is.
Yeah.
All right, Heidi. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heidi.
We appreciate you joining us.
All right. Take care. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.
Yeah.